Okay. So, welcome everyone to When You Don't Know What to Believe, How to Find the Way Back to Your Heart. We are the facilitators of 13 Moons Initiation. I am Monique Ruffin, also sometimes known as the Moon Mama. Cheryl, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Cheryl Bourget. I am a facilitator in the 13 Moons and support the Moon Mama in her magical work.
We support one another, all of us.
And my name is Christine Galrajani.
And we are sometimes I feel like I want to say the witches of 13 moons because we are quite magical. We definitely are. So welcome tonight. I want to invite us into an opportunity, an invitation into a conversation about truth and how to source it within ourselves. And the next new moon that's coming will be focused on the new moon in Sagittarius and the full moon in Cancer. And together, Cheryl, Christine, and myself are inviting you into a conversation and a practice and overall a ritual to help you harness the energy you need for the Sagittarius new moon and Cancer full moon. So welcome to our monthly marketing event. And with that, Christine, thank you so much. And are you ready?
All right. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a little overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking just a little bit about truth. You know, what is truth and what happens when it's hard for us to identify it. We'll talk a little bit about the Sagittarius Cancer moon cycle that we're going to be moving into starting on December 7th. Talk about some of the roadblocks to truth. We'll talk about the moon phases and powers, and then also how you can go deeper if you want to join us for this work in the group. So how do we identify our truth? I feel like when looking at this topic, truth is such a large topic, and you can look at it from so many different angles. You know, but really, like, some of the questions around this are, how do we come to our truth? You know, is there such a thing as one truth? Is there collective truth? You know, sometimes we act like there is, but sometimes I think what we identify as collective truth is just in a particular culture, we may all agree, or a majority of us may agree on a certain thing as being truth, and it may or may not be, really. Truth really ends up being something that is personal. You know, like we can all have a different truth. And what made this the topic for this month is that we're in a time where things are changing really rapidly. Like, we're in the midst of a cultural shift, and there really is kind of a sense of, how do we know what's real anymore? And you know, because things are changing rapidly, because society is shifting in ways that may never go back to the way that they were, it becomes sort of nebulous to try to identify, like, how do we know what is real? And so I think the biggest thing that is important to keep in mind right now is having a way to identify that for yourself. And so that's really the theme that we're going to be exploring in this next month. So every month we do the moon cycle. It's a 28-day cycle. And this upcoming month is Sagittarius Cancer. So our new moon is going to be in Sagittarius. The full moon will be in Cancer next month. So here are the themes that we're going to be looking at. You know, Sagittarius is very focused on truth and optimism and expansion. It's a fire sign. It's very concerned with, you know, the higher mind and intellectual understanding. It can, on sort of the shadow side, Sagittarius can be a little dogmatic, a little zealous, a little pushy. um, and Cancer tends to be focused on security. Cancer wants to feel safe, nurturing, feeling, like those are all Cancer themes. And so that's kind of the axis that we're going to be looking at over this next month. So really the theme becomes, how do I recognize truth and anchor emotional security? And what we're going to be doing, a lot of the work that we'll be doing during the Sagittarius new moon is releasing work. So we're releasing those beliefs that don't serve us anymore, those places where we're dogmatic. We're releasing the places where things have changed and we just haven't brought ourselves to accept it yet. And we're anchoring in that inner ability to nurture ourselves and to know how to identify our own truth. Monique, do you have anything to add to the astrology of this month?
Yeah. The thing that is really fascinating about this astrology is that we just had the full moon in Gemini, which is where the North Node is. So we really are building this idea around, our thoughts, the way we perceive reality. And that is something that we're anchoring into. But as we move into the new moon in Sagittarius, the South Node is there. So like you said, it's really letting go of belief systems. Um, but the South Node makes it super significant. Like the letting go is so very important because our entire culture, our ways of being are built on belief systems. That's how we are who we are, because we believe certain ways of being. And as we move into this energy, it's in order for us to become new, we have to confront or gently witness ways of being that no longer serve us, so that we can grow into a new energetic. That's all I really have to say about it. But thank you for that, Christine.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to look at this idea of what gets in the way of our truth from two different perspectives. And one is really on the macro level. Some of the biggest things that affect our ability to perceive the truth on a larger scale, there is definitely a sense of information overload. Like, we live in a time where we're inundated with information. And so how do we sort out what's important, what isn't? We are also in the midst of a huge cultural shift, as I mentioned earlier. Like the astrology in January, where we had a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, set in motion the restructuring of all of the institutions in our culture. So many of those are crumbling, like in terms of how we know them now. And the thing about that is really present for a lot of people right now is that we don't know exactly what the new thing that we're building looks like. We're living into that. And that can feel like a very confusing place to be, when we don't know what's real. So there can be that tendency to want to cling on to the old beliefs, the ones that are dying. That will be uncomfortable, because when something's shifting, it's shifting. And clinging on to it in that way, like it makes it difficult. There's also this idea of, like, what I see a lot of right now that plays into this is polarization, between differing ideals. So like science and spirituality, right wing, left wing, like all of that. Like, we have these massive amounts of polarization that are happening. And I really think that they're two sides of the same coin. Like, I don't think that science is opposed to spirituality. Like, I think they're informed by each other, but they get positioned as if they are differing things. Different points of view get positioned that way. And it puts us in a place where we give our energy to that, to the conflict, to trying to prove that one way is right and one way isn't. And really, like, none of these things, like, on the external matter. Like, we individually have to determine what is true for us and what matters. One of the big things that's going to be happening this month, and we will definitely address this in the group, is there's going to be a Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. This particular conjunction has not happened since the 1400s. What we're really looking at is a cultural shift. Like, we are looking at moving into a new age, and technology will be part of it. Like, future thinking will be part of it. We're really, like, at the beginning of this new place. And so it's so incredibly important to do this work of being able to determine for yourself what is true and what is real. Like, you no longer will be able to rely on anything out there to determine that for you. I think that's really what we're all, like, that's the thing that we can do. We can't really control a lot of this out there or what's happening, or we don't know what things will look like, but we can control knowing how we need to make decisions and see the truth. Cheryl or Monique, do you have anything to add to, like, this whole macro cultural kind of theme?
Cheryl?
I guess I would say this is a real opportunity to understand that we're all expressions of source. And that source is expressing through all of the perspectives that are occurring right now, right? And that's going to always be that way. But the way that we've created this opposing position, we really do have an opportunity to go inside. And what you see outside of you may not even be aligned with what's true for you. This is an opportunity to birth new ideas, to really inform the macro of other ways of existing, other ways of being. I think that because there are so many truths, source is sourcing through all of this experience, we're invited to line up and to add unto creation, not necessarily regurgitate creation based upon what's already happening at the macro level. And an opportunity, I think, that will be present for us in this cycle that we're going to move into.
The thing that Christine, that you were saying about the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius is so profoundly significant as we move into the age of Aquarius, for us to begin to release the cords of the way we've identified ourselves to fit in, to belong. And we've been working on that all year long. Like, where have we been, people pleasing? Where have we been doing what we need to get along, or where we're still functioning in patterns of, neglect from our childhood? All of those things we've been working on to release, so that when we get to this moment, this time and space, where we can really claim ourselves. And if there's one truth that I know that I can know for myself to the best of my ability, is that I love myself and I'm here. So that's enough. It's like, so, anything, just letting go of things that have been holding us back from just this identity of our own value, our own worthiness, our own sense of self, and then allowing the divine to move through that. And so that's the thing that I'm really excited to be able to work on this month.
Yeah, for sure. So then we also need to look at this from a personal level, because you can have the idea that you're ready to let go of beliefs that aren't serving you, or let things shift, but we really have to look at what that mechanism is on a personal level. And so asking yourself what is at stake emotionally, if you consider new perspectives, can be a good way to kind of flesh out what happens. Because the way that our mind works, it wants to keep us safe and alive, like our animal mind, our ego, wants to keep things status quo, like keep things the same. And so when you look at letting go of a perspective or a belief system that isn't serving you anymore, that sense of security gets threatened. I mean, your mind will almost fight against it. And so having support in moving through that is really helpful, because that's what our minds do. We tend to identify with our beliefs. And so when we change them, in some ways, it feels like we're dying. And in some ways, we are. Um, I remember years ago, a really significant example for me was I was a vegetarian for like, I don't know, 11 years. And when I was pregnant with my first child, my body was like, you eat meat now. And it was just such a strong urge that I was like, okay. And I remember like having a hard time, like knowing who I was when that happened. It was like, I realized how much I had identified with being a vegetarian, that even though I literally wasn't anymore, I was eating meat, I still felt like I was. Like, I don't even know what that means, but the ideas behind it, the morals behind it, the reasons, like all of those were still there for me. And it took a while for me to actually let go of that needing to be part of my identity. Or like I literally kind of felt like I was still one way, even though the truth of what I was doing was a completely different thing.
Mhm. Yes, I absolutely understand that. I remember when I was really confronting being a Christian inside of me, and I remember and I've shared this story before, when I realized that I believed that a woman came from a man's rib. That had been told to me as a child, and I took it on like the truth, and I believed it. And when I confronted it inside of me with the question of, well, have you ever seen a man bring a woman from his rib? Do you have proof of that? And and when I realized how that belief system had structured my relationships with men, it had sort of given me this submissive sort of, like, you're my God kind of energy. And when I started to undo that and realize that, oh, none of that is true, it was a real game changer for me. It changed my whole world around. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that really what the opportunity is in this coming month um, is to ground yourself in such a way that you feel that you create this sense of security that comes from within, that you trust your ability to make decisions, that you trust your ability to know what your truth is, because that's the only place where you can source security from, is within. Nothing out here, no matter how much we identify with it, is actually secure in any way. Like things are always changing. And so I feel like with working with Sagittarius and Cancer, that's really the big opportunity this month, is like really to get to a place where you can feel safe in your internal sense of knowing what is right for you and what is true for you. And doing it in a way that is really loving and nurturing to yourself. The Cancer energy is like, we're not beating ourselves up to do this.
Right.
Okay. So in working with this energy, what we're really doing is building a new foundation. We're building a new internal foundation over the course of this next month. And so the questions to ask yourself are, what beliefs and ideas are you ready to release? Like I've had things kind of circling around this last couple months, like things where I really felt strongly, like from one perspective, and I just feel them loosening, like I don't completely identify with it anymore. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, like with this next cycle. And what does that new foundation of security feel like? What does that look like for you? What would that feel like to have that? And then you want to think about, what intention will you set for this next moon cycle? around these themes. And obviously, we talk about these themes because they're really energetically what are going on and collectively, but you can choose any objectives, whatever speaks to you during a given month, like you would choose those objectives.
Mhm.
All right, Cheryl, you want to talk about these? Oh, did we lose Cheryl?
Did we lose her?
I think we might have. I think she might have fallen off.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll take it.
Okay.
So during this work each month, we use the 8 phases of the moon to explore the theme. Um, to use your belief systems to dive in to cultivate emotional security. You get to manifest 2 short-term goals around the theme. So say this theme of truth, you might intuit, the practice is to really learn how to use your faculty of intuition, your faculty of trust, your faculty of visioning. All of this we teach these actual um, tools as aspect of this moon work, so that you can learn to really work within and without, working with your higher self and your feminine and your masculine self, so that you can shift these energies according to where the new and full moon are. And so each cycle we give you the 8 phases as the framework that will allow you to move through the cycle from the beginning phase, which is creating a goal, towards the end phase, which is then taking an action in the fulfillment of that goal. That's it.
Okay. What when I started working with the moon phases, the thing with it is like a 28-day cycle. It can move quickly, like you get a few days in these phases and they move, and it can feel a little bit like it's controlling you, like you're just trying to hold on and stay with it. But what happens with practice with this is that you really learn to internalize this. You learn to feel where the energy is at any given time. And, like after a while, like you don't even have to ask what cycle we're in. Like you just start to feel it. You can feel it like, oh, we moved into that. And so it's a really powerful practice, like when you learn to internalize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think Cheryl's back.
Yeah.
Yeah. We lost you. Okay. So here's really the bottom line in this upcoming cycle. We are not our ideas or identities. We are capable of clear sight and knowing. And so what you want to ask yourself is, who will you be at the end of this moon cycle with the support of a sacred community? And are you really ready to know what is true for you on a deep level? Because that's the opportunity that you have. Okay, Monique, do you want to talk about the group and what it entails?
So each month we take a group of initiates. I think now we have about 70 of us in our private group in Facebook. We're a 2-part community. We have a private Facebook group where we're together each day. You are Christine, Cheryl, and myself are there. You can ask questions. We do rituals. We do practices that support us in moving through the phase. And you can choose to manifest to focus on 2 objectives, or you can just focus on one. Those objectives can be something in your 3D practical life, like you want to make more money, or you want to, get a different job or a relationship, or they can be internal goals that allow you to focus more internally inside of yourself. Um, with this, each month, um, you get the private Facebook group, daily guidance and live videos. Cheryl does elemental rituals for the 28-day cycle. Access to 3 coaches in the private group, the Moon Manifestation Library, which is what I said is on Teachables, and we have videos and all sorts of information and resources to support this work. From doing this work for years, we have a very extensive library there. Accountability exercises. There is a monthly astrology call that Christine facilitates to help you understand your personal astrology, because every new and full moon falls in some place in your personal natal chart that allows you to focus on that particular area with these with the moon cycle. And then there are also monthly email calls, and we do guided meditations each month as well at the new and full moon. If you'd like to join for this cycle, if you join tonight, the discount is $67 each month. It is a subscription. You can come and go as you please. We absolutely recommend that you stay the entire year, because every month we work on a different aspect of of your own life. Like, so last month our theme was the sacred whore. The new moon was in Scorpio, and we worked on shifting our energy around how we are empowered in our own sexual nature. And that has transformed for me, and I would imagine that has transformed for many of us. Maybe somebody here would like to share. So for the first month is $67. Each month after that is $97. Like I said, you can come and go as you please. The discount code is 13 moons, December, all caps. And the bit.ly link is bit.ly 13 moons. And I'm just curious if anyone is here from last month who would like to share just a testimonial, something, some way this work really benefits them. You can bring yourself off mute. I know somebody's here to do it, because I know how good it is. All right, well, I'm going to share since nobody's sharing. So last month,
I can share.
okay, great. Thank you.
I can share. You know, I always have such a like, anyway, I'm working through my fears of being out in the ether.
Okay, thank you.
But I have been with 13 Moons for like about a year now. And you know what really is coming forward for me to talk about is the community, and it's transformational, especially the more vulnerable you're willing to be. um, and it's work that you don't have to feel like you're doing alone, and it allows you, or I'll speak for me, it allows me to take really deep looks at myself that I would never normally want to take, I think, because of the fear of doing it alone or without community or support. And I've been able to do some really good, I think what Monique calls shadow work, but I've also been able to do some really good release work. And my self love has really increased as a result, and I feel really empowered, um, and just on a really like personal, wonderful path. So I'll stop there, but I could say more. I mean, I could go on and on, but really, it's the community, the vulnerability, um, and the deep work. Like, it's not necessarily easy. I won't lie, right? But you have the community and the support to be able to do it, and it's the way to get to, I think, a better version of yourself, of myself.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Sunny.
Thank
I
you.
really
Thank you.
appreciate that. Cheryl or Christine, you have anything to add before we?
Um, I just wanted to say what I was feeling really moved to add this month. I do the astrology call every month where we just kind of talk about like the current astrology and transits and how that's going to affect us in the upcoming new moon. I am this month because of the focus, like because of this theme, I'm probably gonna do a deeper dive into the Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius and go into that in a little more detail. And I may also do a portion of the astrology call focusing on different systems and ways to identify how to identify what is true for you, or how to make decisions that are sort of based on who you are. So that's something I just want to add, that like that's what I feel like one of the additional things we'll be doing this month to focus on. And yeah, we'd love to have you join us. We'd love to have you be a part of it. And really, like I always say, like in making these kind of decisions too, if you feel drawn, you'll know, you know, and you don't have to talk yourself into it necessarily. You know, don't talk yourself out of it or into it. Like you'll just know if it feels right and you feel that pull, then we would love to welcome you into the group.
Hmm.
Cheryl, do you have anything to add? I know we lost you, and so.
Oh, no, that's okay. I think it sounds like we've got it covered. I would just, the thing I appreciate about the room, which was already shared beautifully, is the collective consciousness of the room. How that vulnerability that was spoken to really allows all of us, because we're one consciousness in that room. So we're climbing the energy together. We're clearing together. We're manifesting together. And so it's a powerful unit of energy that really supports the transformation process very deeply. Yeah. So,
All right. Well, I'm so grateful for everyone who attended. I know someone just got here. This is being recorded, so after I can download it, I can share the recording for those of you who got here late and want to hear the rest. And I'm just so grateful. Cheryl and Christine, thank you so much. I really love all that we do together and the transformation that we get to support and facilitate for this community. So thank you all. And Sunny, thank you for sharing so candidly. That was really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a good evening.
Okay. Take care.